Hi there, welcome to Sydney, and also welcome to Central Station here in Sydney. Now, my destination today is out to Woolloomooloo. Now, the easiest way to get to Woolloomooloo from Central is catch a bus from Central through to Woolloomooloo, and the bus you catch is bus 311, and that leaves from stand C in Eddy Avenue here, out front of Central Station, so it's pretty easy to find. But today I'm not going to catch the bus, I'm going to catch the train through to Martin Place, then I'm going to walk through the Domain. The reason I'm going that way is that there's a couple of things I want to show you on the way. Anyway, the train leaves from platform 24 here at Central Station. I'll get over there and I'll see you over there at platform 24. That's what we want. Platform 24, Martin Place, in 1 minute. And I think I can feel the draft coming up the escalator shaft here. And I think the train is coming in. Oh, here it is now. Now the train we're catching is a Eastern Suburbs train. Oops, better get on. Okay, we've got one stop after leaving Central, and that stop is Town Hall. And once we leave Town Hall, the next stop is Martin Place. That's where we're going to get off. By the way, my name's Kerry, and welcome to our YouTube channel, Public Transport and Car Hacks. And the date today is the 8th of April, Wednesday the 8th of April 2026. Now there's a lift to the street just here. We'll take the stairs. And once we exit from the station, we need to head out onto Macquarie Street, the lift which will also take you to the street from here. But I'll take the stairs today. Now here we are on Macquarie Street. Across the road is Sydney Hospital. And behind me, of course, is Martin Place. What we're going to do is just walk up to the hospital and turn the left. Now, of course, I just crossed the road, and here's the New South Wales Parliament House. Now, if you want to go through and have a look at the New South Wales Parliament House, there's free entry. Now they have public tours 11:30 and 1:30 PM, Monday to Friday. Now right next door to New South Wales State Parliament House, we've got the State Library. Now that's worth a visit too, because they have some exhibitions on in there quite often, and they're really good. And they have a good bookshop. I'll just take you in there, give you a really quick look. Oh, this video is going to last 2 hours. They seem to have changed things around since last time I was here. They've expanded the cafe and made the bookshop a lot smaller. And right next door to the New South Wales State Library is the Mitchell Library just here. We're just going to go around the corner and we'll go and have a quick look in there too. Beautiful old building. And here's the entrance to the Mitchell Library. Now, of course, it's a beautiful old building here, and we'll go in and have a quick look. Now I'll take you upstairs for a quick look, looking down. Now it's beautiful and quiet in here. Now if you're in Sydney and you find the place is a bit of a rat race, well it is, come to the Mitchell Library and you'll find it beautiful, calm and quiet. It's absolutely beautiful. I'll make a move and Woolloomooloo is waiting. Now once you get out of the library, just turn to the right and head down through the domain. Now of course you don't have to walk beside the expressway, we're going to cut through the domain here. Now this is just a 5-minute walk from the Mitchell Library, and where I'm heading to now is the New South Wales State Art Gallery, or I should say the Art Gallery of New South Wales. Now this area around here and behind me used to be known as sort of the soapbox corner, and you could come down here on Sunday afternoons and there'd be speakers standing on soapboxes talking about politics and religion. Now the best one, or the one I most remember, was a guy called John Webster, and he spoke in the late 60s, early 70s, and that was the time I used to come down here. But he was he was a great orator. He sold a newsletter, I think it was 20 cents to all the crowd, and he encouraged everybody to buy it. It was a good idea because he lived on the money each week. He was certainly a part of the Sydney scene. Art Gallery of New South Wales. It certainly is in a beautiful position. And it's only about 5-10 minutes walk from Martin Place Station. Here's the art gallery in front of us. To the left, that leads across the bridge. There's a bridge there. Takes you over the top of the Cahill Expressway, and of course down into the Botanical Gardens. Now if you go to the right, walk up there, that'll take you up to St James Station. Now if you're meeting people in Sydney, traditionally people met friends on the steps of the Town Hall station. That was pretty easy. All trains, just about all trains in Sydney went to Town Hall. But another good place to meet in Sydney is the steps of the Art Gallery of New South Wales. And the good thing about it, you can go and have a look at a little bit of art, have a bit of a talk, and of course there's a great cafe restaurant down below. Anyway, we'll have a quick look at the art gallery and we'll stop at the restaurant down below for a cup of coffee. Okay, the cloakroom is where the orange room starts, to the left. time I've got a bag, I'll have to put that in there. Ah, yes. Here we are. Thanks very much. And the good thing about the art gallery, because it's free to get in, it's free to get into the library, and it's free to get into Parliament House, and of course it's even free. You don't have to pay anything to put your bag, have your bag minded. So you can't beat it. Anyway, we'll just have a really quick look around here and we'll duck down for a cuppa. Now, of course, you can spend hours here, you can spend days here, but this is not an art gallery tour, it's a tour of Woolloomooloo. So I'm going to go down below to the cafe and grab a cuppa. Now, if you go outside here, there's a nice little balcony, so it's beautiful out here. Now you look down over the Cahill Expressway, and of course down there where those long wharves are coming out, the long grey wharves, of course that's Woolloomooloo. It's sort of unfortunate in a way that they built the Cahill Expressway. They built it back in 1958, and it sort of cut Woolloomooloo in half.
And it's so much of that dependent on continued immigration because you're on the demand side because post-COVID.
We've been to two libraries and an art gallery, a cafe. Now let's get down to have a look at Woolloomooloo, which is the reason for this video. Anyway, after leaving the art gallery here, just turn left and walk down this pathway down here. There's a little bridge over the Cahill Expressway. We're going to walk down over that little bridge and it's going to take us down into Woolloomooloo. Turn left and you'll see the Eastern Suburbs Railway. The footpath next to the Eastern Suburbs Railway, we'll head down here. Now here's the bridge we're looking for, which is going to take us over the Cahill Expressway and down to Woolloomooloo. And don't worry, the way we're going is all downhill. There's no uphill walking in this trip. Now, of course, the guy who owns this building, or the people who own this building, when they decided to build the Cahill Expressway, he says, I'm not moving. And he was adamant he was going to stay. Well, he stayed, and look where he is. And of course there's a lift here, so we'll take the stairs. Well, welcome to Woolloomooloo. Now the nice thing about Woolloomooloo is it's close to the city, it's very quiet. Now when they built the Cahill Expressway, which we just crossed, it sort of divided Woolloomooloo into two, and I'd hate to think how many of these beautiful old homes they must have demolished to build that expressway. And even today they consider it a bit of a blunder. Yeah, it's a beautiful suburb, Woolloomooloo. I have a friend and he arrived in Australia with his parents in the early 60s, maybe 1950s, and he's telling me how they lived in Malta, and they got on a boat in Malta, and they came out to Australia, and the ship docked here at Woolloomooloo. And of course they would have gone through customs, immigration, health. Anyway, they stepped off the boat and started walking up one of these streets from the wharf. And there was a sign on a house that says, for rent. Anyway, the guy who owned it, the landlord, was out the front, and they moved in the same day. They stayed there for the rest of their lives. It's a great story about immigrating to Australia. That's my favourite. Now when you come down the stairs and you walk, of course, you walk down, you can see the water, or you can see some boats and walk down here. On each corner, of course, there's a hotel. And of course, here's the beautiful wharves. And it's a hot day here in Sydney today. Even though we're well into April, we're still getting 30-degree days. Anyway, let's go. We'll go across the road. Now it's just before 12 and these restaurants along here are getting ready for lunch. Now if you're looking for a nice quiet place to have lunch or dinner in Sydney, one of these restaurants is a really nice place to come. You got the view of the boats and the water, and also the city and botanical gardens. Now I don't remember the days when Woolloomooloo was a working port, but I do remember the days when these warehouses here they weren't used and they were falling down. And I remember going to the art gallery. I'd go there every few years, and every time I'd look down, I'd expect one of them falling into the harbour. But finally they caught them at the last minute and made them into what it looks like luxury apartments and a hotel. Well, those white tablecloths certainly make it very inviting. I'd love to sit down and have lunch. Well, should have brought Chris along. Now here's the main entrance. Of course, this is the entrance to the hotel. Up the stairs. Oh, I love the woodwork here. They got cafes and bars. A little bit quiet at the moment. Give them a few hours, the place will probably be full. Now these wharves were known as finger wharves here in Woolloomooloo, and they were used to store, yep, you guessed it, wool. And if it was today, they'd probably store coal. Looks like they're replacing some wooden pylons. Now just here, we've got a Sydney institution. Now if you want to look at the culinary history of Sydney, you've got to take Harry's Cafe to Woolloomooloo. Now it's quite an interesting story. Harry started his eatery here back in the Depression, sometime around 1936, and he noticed that there's a lot of sailors working on ships who come in here. There's the Navy, and plus there was nightlife up at King's Cross. And plus there were taxi drivers and night workers, but there was nowhere to have anything to eat. The problem was, in those days, Sydney closed up at 5 o'clock. Okay, the pubs are open to 6, but after 5, everyone went home because everyone went to bed about 9 o'clock because they had to be up at 4 or 5 the next morning. Anyway, Harry started up Harry's Cafe de Wheels. Now, Harry was a boxer, but he must have also been a very good negotiator. Because in those days, selling food on the street or eating on the street was very much looked down upon. Now today, our streets are perfectly clean. They're scrubbed, polished clean here in Sydney. But back in the Depression, they were pretty grubby. And councils were worried about things like dysentery, and there's all these sort of diseases which you could get from eating on the streets. You can imagine how dirty, because there was no dogs, just stray dogs everywhere. People used to spit on the street. But so it was very hard. It would have been very hard to get a license from the council to start up something like this. Well, that's Harry's for you. Let's see what they've got.
Hello, how are you, sir?
Oh, g'day, mate. How's it going? I wanted something very traditional of Harry's, like a pie pea floater or something like that.
Hi, Tiger.
A tiger pie, thanks. Yeah, and it's got peas and mashed peas and gravy. That's just what I wanted. A pie with mashed peas and gravy. Can I get you? Oh, look at that. Harry would be proud of you. Oh, look at that. Fantastic. Oh. Thanks, mate. Now, back in the old days, Harry didn't accept cards, or cards didn't exist. So now he accepts cards. Well, here it is. A pie, mashed potato, peas with gravy floating in top. You can't complain about that. Now you can go to France, you can go to Paris, you can eat all that fancy French cuisine like entrecôte avec Roquefort sauce, and you can have glasses of Beaujolais Village and all that sort of thing. But nothing beats a good old pie and peas. Good old Aussie Tucker down here at Harry's Cafe de Wheels. Thanks very much, that was fantastic. Fantastic. Now that was fantastic, as I said about 100 times, but there's something missing. That's what it is. A beer. Anyway, we'll find a classic old pub. There's one just up around the corner here, and I remember going to it years ago. Hopefully it's still there. Hey, what a great place to live, eh? What a beautiful suburb of Sydney to live in. And the city's just over there. There's no lack of pubs around here. The Tilbury pub. That looks pretty good. We'll duck in and have a look. Be a great place for lunch too. Nice and air conditioned inside also. Now there's another pub just down here. It's called the San Francisco or something, and I went there years ago. So we'll go down and have a look. That looks like it on the corner down there. Ah yes, this is what I'm looking for. The Frisco Hotel. Let's go in and grab a beer. Beauty. Ah, beautiful. Cheers. Oh, perfect. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, and it's hot today. It's about, I think it's about 28 degrees or something. They won't even touch the sides. Just down one of these streets near where I came down the stairs from crossing the Cahill Expressway, there's I saw a bus stop, so we'll go back there and see if we can get a bus back into the city. Well, there's the bus stop I'm looking for, just down there. Back in the 60s and 70s, you'd have to pay people to live here. But now, I reckon these little terrace homes would be worth a fortune. What a perfect location. So close to the city. Absolutely beautiful and quiet. Hey, let's have a look, see where these buses. 311, that's the one. That's the one I'm looking for. Now this bus stop I'm on is on the corner of Burke and Nicholson. Now the interesting thing about Woolloomooloo is that it's sort of locked in. It's not the sort of place that you're going to visit on the way to somewhere else. You won't accidentally visit it. You got to really come here, set it out to come here, because on the western side of Woolloomooloo is of course the Cahill Expressway, so it's sort of blocked off from the city. But they built the Eastern Suburbs railway just up the road there. But unfortunately, they didn't put in a station. Now, on the eastern side, it leads up into King's Cross, and that's where we're going to catch the bus, and it's up the hill. And there's not a lot of buses here. At Central there, it said that the buses were every 15 minutes through to Woolloomooloo. But when I come here to the bus stop, it says it's only every half an hour. But anyway, there's one coming in a few minutes, so we'll catch that. But it's just a shame that they never built a railway station up here at Woolloomooloo. Would have been a great place for a railway station. And every time I catch a train to Bondi Junction, I sit on the left generally, and I look down over into Woolloomooloo. And I think to myself, why didn't they build a railway station? Another problem is when they decided to build the Eastern Suburbs line, there's a lot of, it took them about, I think it took them something like 30 years to build it. They started on it, then they stopped it, and then they started again. And finally they built it. They finally got it going in about 1980, 1981, sometime around there. But it only finishes at Bondi Junction. I remember when they first started talking about it, it was the whole idea was running out to Bondi Beach and around to Randwick, through Waverley, Charing Cross, and maybe out to the race course and the university. But that never happened. They never wanted to spend the money on it. They're scared of spending the money. But what eventually happened, and what made them build it, was that the city circle got so congested with trains that they couldn't fit any more trains on the Sydney system, because most trains ran through the city circle. So what someone come up with, the New South Wales Government Railways, they said, righto, we'll finish the Eastern Suburbs line, and we'll run the trains from Cronulla, Mortdale, Hurstville out through the city, through to Town Hall, across through to Martin Place, then out to Bondi Junction. They terminate at Bondi Junction and then run back, so it'd be a totally separate line. And they suggested to the State Treasurer, well, The good thing about it is that at some stage you could privatise the line, and because it's completely separate to the whole system. And of course, yeah. Well, now we're interested. How much is it going to cost? Probably somewhere between 150 million. Well, actually, I think they would have quoted 100 million there, but I think it went out to about 150 million. But I think the same thing's happening again to a certain point, where you got this new metro in. Now they're extending the metro from Sydenham through to Bankstown, and a lot of people say, well, what's the use of that? You know, you've already got a railway station. Well, the thing is, if they can put the train, run a metro through to Bankstown, that's going to take a lot more trains off the city circle. So the same thing that happened 40 years ago is sort of repeating itself. Is that the big problem is to get more trains into the city, into Sydney, you've got to build more lines and take them off the city circle. Now I remember back in about, it must have been about 1969, 1970, when they were still talking about building the Eastern Suburbs Railway. I remember listening to the radio, and radio announcer said, well, do we really need this? Because in about, another 20 years, because remember this is about 1969, 1970, another 20 years we'll all be flying around in little spacecraft like they do in the Jetsons. But of course, that has never happened. Well, here it is, central by Taylor Square and Elizabeth Bay. That looks pretty good. Great, thanks mate. Well, goodbye Woolloomooloo. Well, we're now in Potts Point and we're heading up to King's Cross. Okay, here we are back at Central Station again. Anyway, a big thank you to all the bus drivers and all the train drivers who got us out there, and all the people who serve behind bars and everything, helped to make this a great day. Without you people, an old bloke like me wouldn't be able to get out and have any fun. Anyway, thanks very much for watching the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you again next Saturday afternoon. Bye now.